Joining us this morning. Our goals is to provide a fun, informative discussion in a variety of topics to feed your mind with. Imagine what it would feel like to be debt-free, optimum health, and have a job you love going to every morning or every day. We want you to walk away from these episodes with the feeling of, I can implement these simple changes to make a huge difference. Today, I'm grateful for meeting Stephanie. I not only have been in partnership in business with and conducting workshops together, but I'm honored to call her my friend as well. So let me introduce you to Stephanie. She is an inspired health and life coach, owner and founder of the Freedom to Live, dedicated and passionate about helping others live their healthiest and highest value version of themselves. Stephanie brings a lot of perspective to the table with her, and what makes her stand out is not just about food and exercise, it's the whole entire experience. As for myself, I'm an entrepreneur and a natural-born leader who is passionate with helping people to see their true potential. I'm a business partner at Alaro Solutions, and I guide people to overcome their financial challenges, to get out of debt, stay out of debt, and live their dreams. I am selfishly promoting the launch of my personal branded website today and would love for you to take a look, subscribe, and provide me input on it. And it's DarleneAValentine.com. So on to this morning's episode of Travel with Stephanie.
Thank you, Darlene. Beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so first I'm going to talk a little bit about this upcoming trip that I'm doing, and it's with my 9-year-old son. We're going down to Guatemala to build a bottle school. So it's not one of these trips with beaches and water slides and relaxing by the pool. It's a different kind of trip that we're doing. So first I'll introduce what is a bottle school. And bottle schools are schools that are used building plastic bottles stuffed with inorganic trash. And there's an entire tested and engineered process into a post and beam construction, much like traditional construction. However, instead of using cinder blocks, they use these eco bricks, which are the plastic bottles stuffed with the trash. Now, there's an environmental problem in these countries where they don't have waste management systems. So there's plastic bottles and garbage kind of gunking up the whole environment. So on one hand, they are solving an environmental problem. And two, these schools are a lot cheaper to build than traditional schools. The cost to build one is around $6,500 US. As opposed to a traditional school. And so far, they've built 116 schools already, and that's 282 classrooms.
And is that globally or just in Guatemala?
This is an organization called Hug It Forward, and they are responsible for this project. And they're Latin American focused with a focus on Guatemala in particular.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'll link up all those references in the show notes with the website. So I'm going down there with Hug It Forward, and that's the organization that is doing the bottle school projects. And they're in partnership with another organization called Serve the World Today. And that takes care of the whole international voluntourism aspect, where they bring the foreign people down and provide an itinerary with guides. So it's really that safe environment where we're going down there. We have guides. They provide us with facilities and to stay. I mean, it's still very rustic, but we're going down there with a support.
What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it's in partnership with these two different organizations. And I really love just the whole philosophy. of not only is it cleaning up the environment, but it's teaching people. And everything that I do, there's always that link back to education. And it's teaching lessons about environment, sustainability. But what they do is they involve these communities, because a lot of the times they're in these remote, rural communities where they don't have the same access to education. So there's that whole aspect as well.
What motivated you to do this?
Wow. So where do I start here? This kind of brings me back, without kind of going over my whole life story. I'll go back to 1 year ago. So 1 year ago, this is when I created my business, The Freedom to Live, my health and life coaching business. And ironically, it was at the same point in time in my life where I was at that crisis moment. Okay. It's, Tony Robbins refers to it as, I think it's the crisis moment where you hit that rock bottom place. Mm-hmm. Just when you think you've already gone through all these different storms in your life, and it's like, no, like it's going to be clear skies from here on in, and then you get hit again.
Yeah.
That's where I was at that point. And you know what? Nobody knew anything that this was all going on inside, because that's my personality. I'm that duck on water person, that everything on the surface is calm, collected, in control, but underneath it was this full-blown chaos. So I was in this process of building my business. At the same time, it's this internal crisis, panic, high stress, rock bottom moment. And it wasn't until that point when I started to really let go of the fear of, what am I going to do? How am I going to support my kids? How am I going to what am I going to do with my life, my career? All these kind of questions, and this fear that kind of just keeps you back. Mm-hmm. And it's when I started to really let the fear out, to talk about it, and to get real and find out what is the real reason. Because, Darlene, on the sidelines, I had been working a long time on this side passion project. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? When you're in the job, but on the sidelines, you have this dream and this passion and this other kind of project and vision for your life. So I had been studying and working out in health, nutrition, fitness, all these kind of things, reading blogs, trying to write blogs, dreaming. I took a course when my daughter was when I was on a mat leave 5 years ago, but I never did anything with it. I never launched anything. I just stayed safe. Yeah. I stayed in that comfort zone. I stayed with my freelancing work where it was like, no, this is it. This is good. It's easy. There's decent pay. It's a little boring, but I'm flexible. I can work from home wherever there's an internet connection. So, I'd post on Facebook and Instagram, the ones like, oh, hashtag freedom and hashtag digital nomad, hashtag flexible work. Yeah. But deep down inside, there was that missing connection to really connecting with, I call it, in Sanskrit, it's called your Dharma. Yeah. Which is your purpose. And actually in Eastern medicine and Eastern philosophies, this is linked into our wellness, our well-being. It's a part of health.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we are living a different story from the story that we know we're supposed to be deep down inside, and sometimes it's so buried deep down. And this is my deep desire was, to create, to teach, to invent, to have an impact on people's lives. And for me, it took that rock bottom to wake up.
And fear can be so crippling. We just kind of don't want anything to change because of that fear. But yet the true growth is coming from overcoming that fear. That is when you start growing and you peel away those layers. And that's when life is an experience.
Yeah. Fear is an interesting beast. It's one of those aspects that I work with continuously with my clients, and I used for myself and for a lot of people. Do you know the technique from Tim Ferriss? You know, I'm a big fan.
I love Tim Ferriss.
I know, it's called fear setting. And he has some YouTube videos and a bunch of resources online about it. And essentially it's that, where instead of goal setting, we're fear setting. And it's about facing your fear, putting it out in the open, and coming up with all the preventions. Okay, what can I do that's going to prevent that fear from happening, even if it's 1%? Who can I help? Who can help me? Some different things. And then you go to the next level and say, okay, the fear it's happened. And then you try to, what can I do to get back out of this fear? And then when it's full-blown chaos, what are some different things that I can do to reverse and get back?
So sometimes when you're overcoming, when you face what is the worst case scenario,
right,
it's like, well, it's not that bad, really. What is that worst case? And I know we've worked on that. Yeah. What is that worst case scenario? It's like, in the reality of life, it's not really that bad. So why have I held back for so many years out of fear when the worst case isn't really bad? So we make this up in our heads a lot of times.
100%. It's all in our heads. It's exactly it. And, you know, it's another point, another technique that I use from Byron Katie. It's called, is it true? And that's where you start to talk to that fear. You start to talk to it and look at it and go, well, really? Is that true? Like, and you get to this point where when I look back at that point in time, it's like, that fear is not even on the table anymore.
Mm-mm.
Because through the fear setting and talking and saying, is this really true? You've kind of just pushed everything aside, and you have all these reasons of how it's not going to happen. And if it did, you have all these other reasons of how it's not even going to be an issue without focusing on it too much. So yeah, I guess I have to kind of get back to my point, right?
That's okay. I took you off topic.
There's a whole story of why this project. So, you know, it's part of, and you work on this a lot, I know we both do, is the vision board, the vision for our life. And traveling is definitely one of those things for me that's in my life. It's always been a huge part of my life. I've worked and studied abroad and overseas, and I've been fortunate and grateful to have traveled a lot with my parents being in the airline industry growing up. So traveling for me is this huge thing. I absolutely love it. So I kind of have this vision of, well, I'm traveling every couple months. I'm traveling, I'm going places through work, through passion, through personal. So this is the vision, but this is also how I live. Mm-hmm. In the past 6 months, I've traveled to 4 different countries. I've been to the US, 4 different cities, California, Hawaii, Panama, and now Guatemala. And a lot of people ask me, like, how are you doing this? And this is part of what I teach is, here's the vision, but we have to actually live it in the present moment today instead of chasing this